Okay, so the first question is, what has been the most motivating moment in your career and why?
I would say the most motivating moment in my career was going to my first business conference out of state. Uh, I was able to meet with other professionals, and I felt like I made a new milestone in my career. I mean, having my boss vouch for me and invest with me to further my skills meant a lot.
Do you think that was um, because of who your boss was associated with, or or what do you think about why that was so motivating for you to have that person backing you up or a person to attest for your skills?
The conference was not a necessity for my position. It was solely kind of voluntary. And she found the conference, decided that it would be a good thing for me to benefit me, and went to our CEO and discussed it and vouched for me to have the experience. So the fact that she, really spent that time to convince somebody that it was necessary for me was really, really special. And it helped me realize that I was capable of my position and I could go meet with these other professionals in other states to talk about what I do every day, but it made it feel that much more real. And um, yeah,
That's awesome. Um, yeah, I can attest to most conferences that I've had the pleasure to go to. You just get to be surrounded by people that are interested in learning new things and talking about whatever the conference subject is, and it just builds good relationships, but also just makes you feel like you're a part of something.
it also was really special that she trusted me enough to be a representative of our company with these other people, and I could go and represent and talk about what we do. So I think that was the other big part of it. Felt really nice to have that trust that I could represent the entirety of the company in a positive way.
That's awesome. Uh, okay, so second question: how do external rewards such as raises and bonuses affect your work performance?
Raises and bonuses greatly affect motivation, especially right now. I feel like everyone's kind of feeling the pressures in this economy, and wages affect or meet even more now than they did before. Um, in my current company, after a hard year with a lot of turbulence, we surpassed huge goals. We beat sales goals, and then other months we really struggled. And unfortunately for me, that equals a full year of hard work and additional challenges. And I kind of joked almost we should get hazard pay almost for how difficult it was, only for the bonuses to be taken away in Q4. So that was really kind of heartbreaking because not only we didn't have just a standard operating year where I completed my job and there was some setbacks or whatever, but we had a year that was just plagued with challenges and unforeseen circumstances. And then we had some huge wins that we fought really hard for, but every month we fought really hard. And then at the end of the year to not be rewarded for that and for bonuses to be taken away, it's really defeating. And to end the year feeling defeated and less motivated and appreciated due to things that are outside of my control, it's pretty hard. And knowing some of the details, like working in finance, or knowing some of the details about the company and knowing about our profits and losses, knowing that we exceeded sales goals in any history of the company, and then now knowing that we're doing layoffs and cutting bonuses while acquiring two new properties, kind of leaves a bad taste in your mouth about the company itself and how little they kind of consider the people at my level. Whereas bonuses are a huge deal to someone at my level, where we can make these decisions at such a high level that you know that affect very, very many people.
Yeah, uh, definitely understandable. Would you say, or I'm curious to get your thoughts on maybe not the owners or the people that make that overall goal with the bonuses, but if you were in a position that you had to be the one to disclose that information of, like, say you're not going to be able to do bonuses in a year, do you know any thoughts on how you would potentially go about doing that with your employees?
I think that would be a really difficult conversation to have. Luckily, my boss is phenomenal, and I understand that this is not coming from her. And she's had this conversation with us, and it was a solemn conversation for sure. Um, she handled it with expressing gratitude to us and understanding that we the amount of work that we put in this year. So I at least feel seen and heard by her, and that helps me feel a little bit better about the position, knowing that there is somebody in the higher up, field that understands the work that I put into it. But it is hard news, I think, for anybody to deliver.
Just out of curiosity, do you think that it might not be possible anymore, obviously, because it's the exposure, but do you think the idea of bonuses is a good thing or a bad thing? Like
I think it
having that
depends.
knowledge,
I'm sorry, what was the last part?
like having like as whatever. Like I say, there's a worker, the worker knowing that a bonus is potentially a thing. Having that knowledge, do you think that's a good thing or a bad thing?
I guess no. I think it depends on company history, but it also depends if bonuses are relevant to performance, personal performance, or if bonuses are dependent completely on the sake of the company. And like in this case, we were kind of promised bonuses on personal, your personal successes and your personal job, but then on Q4 they were taken away as a company-wide decision based off of the success of the company. So I think that kind of discrepancy is really confusing and hurtful, because you're promising people that their hard work is going to pay off, but in the end, my bonus is taken away for something that is not really pertaining to me. So I think the best thing would be to tell people coming on, or whatever the culture is in the company, whether bonuses are company related or personally related.
That's a good idea. Yeah, I agree with that. Okay, so how do you feel leaders enhance intrinsic motivation in the workplace?
I would say that leadership is directly correlational to performance. I left my last job solely because of management. The benefits were great, the pay was great, my staff was great, but it was management specifically. And if your boss doesn't believe in the company or the goals, the team's going to follow that example. So then you're only going to have people staying there because it's convenient, because of the pay, because of whatever, and that affects company culture. It also affects just the goals in general of the company. Um, if you're I also think intrinsic motivation is a key factor in job retention. Like having some type of purpose in your job makes it a lot easier to stay. If you don't have any purpose in your job and you're making a ton of money, yeah, I guess that's a good enough reason. But if you're not making the money that you'd hope to, or you're making okay money, and then you don't have any purpose, they're really it's a lot harder to motivate yourself, I think, to continue.
Yeah, okay. Thank you. So, along with that, because you were kind of talking on both intrinsic and extrinsic a little bit, what motivational strategies have been most effective in improving team performance, either where you're currently at or previous places?
I think one of my favorite strategies, I've done this when I was in management, but also my management has done this in the last couple of years, is setting realistic goals in various time increments. So that way goals are completed and can be celebrated. From my experience, the setbacks far outweigh the celebrations, but waiting until the end of the year to celebrate, if you even get to celebrate, is too long to hold on to hope and self motivation. So instead of just having like yearly goals, I think it's good to break it up and to have more wins. I think it's really important to celebrate your wins in a company, and just not wait till Q4 to see where everything falls.
I've kind of been part of companies where they they kind of have an annual goal, like say it's sales or something, but it's kind of broken up into quarters with the main focus being like the end goal, but each quarter is kind of focused on like we're at our level of achievement for this quarter. Even though that quarter that achievement is a focus with like maintain a certain level of uh, consistency to get to that end goal. Do you think doing it like that is good for performance, knowing that it's just about pushing till the end, or do you think that you should not have a focus on an annual goal and more of a quarterly goal?
I think it's uh, if it's in sales related or kind of profit related, I think that's important to do, like you said, kind of leading up to the end goal, but also celebrating quarterly. But I also think that it's important to celebrate other goals that are not just financial goals. Like our company this year secured a lot of new contracts. We had to work really hard to fix our reputation and go out into the community and grab these new contracts and kind of rebrand ourselves. And those are things that should be celebrated as well, even though they eventually will have a monetary value attached to them. But just the initial contract, the initial success of earning that kind of partnership is also something that should be celebrated. And at least in my field where there are a lot of setbacks, there's been a lot of challenges, it's really nice to hear those good things too, because there's been a few times that it went 2 months maybe without anything really good happening, I guess, and that gets kind of hard.
Yeah, I can definitely uh, see how that can definitely affect people on all levels of like whether it be manager, employee, wherever you're at. Okay, so what areas? Last one. What areas of motivational design or approaches do you think need improvement?
So this kind of feeds into the last question a little bit. And I put, as human beings, we need reinforcement. And every behavior, every action is reinforced in some way, whether subconsciously or consciously, or not subconsciously, unconsciously or consciously. So assuming you hire staff that you believe are capable, motivated, dedicated, you hire them because you believe that they will succeed in the position. It's important to remember that there's effort to be made to sustain those traits. You can be intrinsically motivated and a high performer naturally, and that goes really far for a good period of time. But I do think that there needs to be some sustenance. You need to sustain those traits to keep someone going. If constant work and challenge and hardship are not addressed, it's easy to make the assumption that hard work does not pay off. And if you are a high achieving person, you know that in the past your hard work has paid off. So it equates pretty quickly like this is not worth it because it does not pay off. So if a company chooses to invest in shorter term goals and celebrations, time to check in with employees regularly, and can offer support, uh, you know, before things become too big of a problem, I think employees would feel like their work is being reinforced positively. Um, we're kind of no different than kids that way. That we need that reinforcement to keep performing at our as our best selves.
Okay. Um, I guess you kind of made me curious of one last question. Uh, if you found yourself opening up your own company, whether it be similar to the companies you've worked with or not, uh, how would you how would you personally utilize your past experiences and motivations and places you've worked to develop your own uh, motivational approach towards not only improving employee performance necessarily, but just improving, your overall company's growth and uh, the way people that work for you see you.
I think starting